New caliper came in today and it's installed. Took it out of the box and looked at it, and right away I realized this new caliper is different from the one that came off of it. It looks really similar, but where this emergency brake thing goes, the new one comes in from the back. This one comes in down the front, down below. That's different, way different. Also, where this bracket right here fits against the bracket on the quad, if you look down in there, you can see, I think you can see, the disc pads are riding on the rotor and right where they're supposed to. On this one, that piston is almost right up to the edge of that bracket, and then you add the thickness of the pad on top of that, and this section in between here doesn't leave enough room for the disc pads and the rotor. Now this is the old rotor that came out of it, and you can see it's burnt and it's disc shaped. You can see that's a long way. These are the pads that came out of it. This was the outer pad, and it is at an angle like that, and this is the inner pad, and this is totally worn out. It's almost down to the metal, and it's worn this way. So the fact that this guy was pushed out closer to the disc, whoever did the brake job on this thing before obviously just took this thing, got it to start over the edge of the disc, and just hammered it on, and it screwed the thing down with those brackets, thinking that it would heat up and settle in. Well, boy, it heated up and it warped that disc. And this one here is working fine. I just bled the brakes. I'm fitting to go take it and drive it around. I did get those nuts tightened down, and they've got Loctite glue on them. The axle carrier is filled up with grease. That thing right there is filled up with grease. I've put grease everywhere. So I think I'm done with the rear end of it. So I'm fitting to go ride it around the block and see how it works. Okay, what I discovered was this is the parking brake mechanism, and this thing is jammed completely shut. This is a set screw right here. It's got a screw that goes into the center, and that's how you set the preload on this thing right here. And this thing will fit on that shaft pretty much anyway. When you pull it, you can see how this thing pushes out. Now what this thing mounts on here like that, and when you pull it, it pushes against this right here. This is the pin that's on the back of the piston that's in the brake cylinder, and it would not go back. So there's a pad here, there's a pad here, and the disc fits in between them. They had this screw so far in that it had driven the brake piston all the way out into the disc. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the end of this right here is mushroomed where they had cranked down on it so hard. And they did that with a screw. So it took me a long time to get this thing apart. But I think it's recoverable, maybe. I can actually move this piston, well, I could a while ago with my fingers. Should be able to move it. I can push it in. Yeah, it's going a little bit. It's a lot harder than it should be. Well, it ain't going now, but it did. But I think I can take a file, clean that mushroom off, take this cylinder out, or take this piston out, and clean it. I'm sure it's got a seal in there, and it's probably got a little bit of rust on it, but I believe it'll go. Let me do this. Let me just push that thing out. I think I can push it out. I'll just throw that on the floor right there. Yeah, there it goes. See, that piston's coming out now. I can push it back in. So it's moving. This right here might be recoverable. I'm not sure. But anyway, guys, when you put these things together, don't run this screw all the way down. Leave this thing way out. And put this on here where it's in the right position for your cable setup. Like that, your outer cable comes into here, the inner cable connects into here. When you pull your emergency brake, it does that and causes that thing to twist like that. Works like a clutch on a lot of motorcycles. But then when you get your thing back together, get your bike back together, you get your brake caliper set up, and you get your brakes adjusted, get it bled and everything, then you adjust this thing down with the tension and the slack in your cable. Please don't run this thing down, because it'll cost somebody, the next guy, to have to replace the whole caliper like that. But that's my lesson for today.